Whew, worth the price of admission and then some. Possibly a preview of greater matchups to come, but the San Antonio Spurs prevail 126-123 over the Minnesota Timberwolves in what was a heavyweight fight down the stretch. Two of the best players on the planet, Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, trading blows, but this one was trading blows for 4 quarters. Early on, it was the Spurs putting up one of their highest scoring periods in team history. 48 in that second frame. Minnesota responding in the third quarter, but TJ Ford, when it mattered most, the Spurs closing up shop.
Yeah, the second quarter, we was able to kind of get a good distance, show our tempo, how we want this game to go, give Minnesota Timberwolves a lot of credit for continuing to fight in the second half and make this a game, and come down to the stretch there where the stars came up and had to make plays.
And no star shining brighter than Victor Wembanyama. 39 points tonight. That's his highest total since opening night when he dropped 40 in Dallas. But putting the Timberwolves on the stove, inside, outside, coming in spurts, TJ.
We're coming in spurts, and when this spurts, it's very impactful, though, because he put up points, rebounds, block shots. He do this all in a short window that really affects and changes the game. And down stretch there in the fourth quarter, it was between him and Anthony Edwards, basket after basket, shot make after shot make, and they both delivered tonight as being superstars in this league.
First game for Victor, playing 30 minutes in 15 games. The durability tonight from Wembanyama, especially with how he's been bruised and battered all week. He talked about that physicality coming in, but him being able to hold up his body, looking great.
We're looking great, but I just think that when he got down to the stretch, the ball got in his hands, he was able to make shots and make plays. So I just love the fact that when the game got on the line, we found a way to put the ball in our best player hands, and he was able to deliver.
Well, what's that like when you got a guy who's got 55 on the other end, Anthony Edwards with a career high in points, but the Spurs finding ways to be able to counter?
Well, listen, on the other side of getting 50 points scored on you is very, very tough, but when you get the win, you know, obviously it's collective effort. You know, Anthony Edwards is a big-time player, and he did what he's due. He scored the basketball tonight, but it wasn't enough.
We could hear that chirping from all the way up here in section 127 to Jacob, Toby, Sean Elliott. They were sitting courtside to it, had to take in the spectacle. What a battle, gentlemen.
A lot of chirping on the court tonight, a lot of chirping here from us about this game, which, hey, look, man, it's a new age, it's a new NBA. 25-point lead, it's not that safe anymore like it was maybe 15, 20 years ago with the three-point shooting.
It should have been, though.
You're right, though.
And so our guys have to continue to find out how to play with leads, especially against this Minnesota team. It's been the same old story. You allow them back in the game. Really, coming out of the locker room, Beringer was all over the place, right? Getting offensive rebounds, keeping the ball alive. And it seemed like a light went off with the rest of the guys on the floor. Like, hey, maybe we have a chance to do something here. We just got to pick up our level of energy and intensity, and that's exactly what they did. And our guys were kind of flat that entire third quarter. We've got to figure that out because this is a game where you're up 25. I'm happy you win it by 15 or 20. I mean, I'm smiling now because we got the win. But you win this game by 3, and you have to make plays down the stretch. And you made a lot of mistakes throughout that second half. It gives Mitch Johnson a lot to look at on tape, but we have got to get better because tonight we were playing with fire. Eventually, though, we got the ball in the hands of Victor Wembanyama. He made some big shots, made a big free throw, got a big offensive rebound, and that was the game.
He answered everything that Ant did on the offensive end. And then you mentioned it, Champagne's second free throw. This is a big offensive rebound. The Spurs had 17 tonight.
Yeah, and initially I thought that Julius Randle should root him out of there, but it was a good box out. It was a long rebound, and it was fortunate for us that the rebound hits the back iron, pops out so far. Victor's able to get a hand on it and then corral the offensive rebound. Because if Julius Randle comes down with that rebound, you never know what happens. Minnesota has a little bit of time to get the ball off the floor. And, of course, Anthony Edwards was absolutely unconscious.
Is this the one that's maybe going to wake them up in terms of playing with their food in the second half, third quarter with leads? Third quarter has been the storyline with this team all season long.
I can't say because the 2 Minnesota games was the same thing, right? And so I like what De'Aaron Fox said, and hopefully when those guys go in the locker room, and you're going to be happy you won the game, but you're not going to be as hyped and as excited if you won this thing by 20 or 25, really going away. So they have to think about this game. They're going to know that they didn't perform very well in the second half, and they were lucky to get out of here with a win.
My statistician, Joe Clark, longtime Spurs employee, looked at me and said, never a doubt. And that's why I said that to you before the last break. Never a doubt.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure there in the middle of the third quarter. I didn't like our chances, I'll be honest. Momentum was all with Minnesota, but Keldon Johnson, that was the biggest shot of the game.
More post-game with Nate and TJ coming up.
Back here on Spurs Postgame Live, Spurs 126-123 winners over the Minnesota Timberwolves. 3 Spurs with 20-plus tonight, led by Wembanyama's 39. TJ Ford, when the Spurs acquired De'Aaron Fox last February, the stat line like that, that's what fans were hoping for.
Well, I mean, when you got 23 players with 20-plus, I mean, it makes it a lot easier in the win column when you got 3 guys playing at that kind of level. So when you look at Fox, when you look at Wemby, and then when you look at Johnson, those guys was able to deliver tonight on both ends, offensively and defensively.
And Keldon coming off the bench with 20. Keldon had that critical bucket under 20 seconds to play. It was a 1-point game. Little helter-skelter on the defensive end for Minnesota, needing a spark. We'll call this the dagger right here, TJ. Keldon Johnson's wing.
Yeah, when you just look at the patience of guys getting in the paint, look at Champagnie being able to kick it out, drawing the defender, and Johnson, wide open 3, Cash knocks it down, gave the crowd the energy that we needed, and that was a big-time basket. We can look at what De'Aaron Fox, and you can look at what Wemby did, but that was one of the biggest play of the night, and that was the play of the night.
And De'Aaron Fox is a guy who's played in a lot of big games before, right? 27 years old, said that his team needs to work on putting away these guys in the second half when they get that big lead. But De'Aaron, with his 4th double-double of the season, TJ, the Spurs are 3-1 when De'Aaron Fox has a double.
Well, he came out of the game, started off pretty aggressive at the beginning of the basketball game. I love when he starts off looking for a shot, getting inside the paint and using the physicality, as you see there, getting to his teardrop. And then just being able to take care of the basketball. And whenever he has high digits assists, it's very, very hard for this team to be stopped on the offensive end. And I think sometimes he can kind of flow a little bit of just so many offensive threats that we have that he kind of takes a back seat. And tonight he was able to show his offensive skill and also being able to find other guys and get a lot of assists.
And you know it. I mean, you were a point guard. The Spurs are most effective when De'Aaron Fox is attacking the paint.
Of course. I mean, Castle was able to get in foul trouble, didn't have the game that he typically had the other night. But when you look at Fox, that's why you have multiple guards that can carry the load. And he was able to do that as our starting guard tonight, of delivering and making it very, very hard for Minnesota to really find that balance defensively. They tried to do a bunch of different defensive schemes, but we was able to handle that with pace, patience, and precise.
3 Ps presented by TJ Ford. Spurs snap a 5 game losing streak to the Timberwolves. Precipitation. There's another P for you in French. More Spurs post game live after this.
You guys built that 25-point halftime lead. What did you get away from in the second half?
The start of the third quarter was just way too nonchalant. And this team has done this to us enough times that everyone remembers and can expect sometimes the adjustment or the uptick in what we were about to see. And that was what happened. We let them get back into the game, and they are a tough group, especially when you let them get going like that.
How disappointing is that to you to know that, that happened in Minnesota and then, like you said, a little nonchalant?
It's extremely disappointing, but it's also acknowledging that those guys in there got the 25-point lead and they got down at the end of the fourth quarter and they won the game. So I'm not going to sit here and be negative or not keep it all in perspective. That part is extremely disappointing, and that part has been, I think, what has crept in at times and been our biggest thorn in our side this year, which has just been at times some nonchalantness because we don't have some of the depth of experience, history, wisdom, runs on the board, accomplishments to refer to when times get really tough. We have to overly respect the process, the details, and playing the right way because we're lacking in some areas that we can't control right now. So when we go through this, we cannot let our guard down in those areas. And when we do, we find ourselves at times in similar situations. They're not all created equal or the exact same, but I think we've seen some similarities when this happens.
What did you guys do, I guess, in the inverse or in the flip side? What did you guys do to right the ship again at the end? What was sort of the difference there down the stretch beyond Victor hitting a bunch of shots?
I think we finally had some physicality plays. Defensively, give enough resistance with discipline without fouling, some rebounding, some catches, some passes, some creating leads, a lot of the little things that go into then the shot making.
I guess that's something that you guys have managed on both counts, giving up some leads, but still a bunch of times this season sort of riding that ship and getting back into the flow of things. What is, especially with all these young guys, how does that look for you all going forward?
I think it gives you a lot of reason to believe in potential of what you can continue to grow into, and it gives you a lot of alarming pause of what your pre-mortem is.
Thoughts on Victor's second quarter?
Dominant. He obviously got going and made a lot of shots, but again, Victor and a lot of our guys individually, it's pretty, whether it's contagious or carryover or just what goes into the collective group, but the process of typically what we take individually with the game plan execution and the detail and playing the right way, when we have that right approach, we give ourselves a good chance. And the shot making a lot of times is the outcome, but we practice, we watch a lot of film, we train. Not saying other teams don't, obviously, but when we stay true to that, the expectations of what I should do, whoever that is on the court, and what my teammate should do or what they're going to do is typically pretty connected. And when we do that, you then start seeing guys' individual talent pop off the page, and obviously his can pop pretty big.
Coach, in those final minutes of the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left, Victor was trading buckets directly with Anthony Edwards. What did his immediate answers and responses, shooting-wise, tell you about his competitive response, considering what happened during the last matchup?
Yeah, I think Vic has proven in his young career that he embraces those moments and wants the basketball and is looking for opportunities. And he obviously did that tonight, and we have to continue to do that in all phases of the game, not just Victor, but the whole team in terms of defense, rebounding, passes, creating leads, and just all the little things.
25 and 12.
Nate and TJ up here back with you on Spurs Postgame Live. TJ, Mitch Johnson talked about it. Sean Elliott talked about it. 25-point halftime lead for San Antonio. Minnesota then comes back to take the lead. That lead slipping away, was it something that Minnesota was doing, or was it something that San Antonio wasn't doing?
Well, I'll take the other end of just sitting here and say, you got to get used to being up 25 points, and we're getting accustomed to being able to do that. And now what's the other thing on the learning with that is you got to learn how to protect that. And that's something I think Sean, I think that's what Coach Mitch was talking about as well, is just being able to maintain and withstand the focus that it takes when you're up 25 points.
Now turning the page to Monday, MLK Day, NBA on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Always a classic. It's going to be a Spurs siesta. 3:30 we're getting started here on FanDuel Sports Network, the Spurs and the Utah Jazz. San Antonio's got to be careful with Utah, TJ, because we saw this Jazz team come here to this building and shoot 46% from three in a win last month.
Well, what we are finding out is that teams are coming here with the focus of playing well. And now when you have a team that's at the top of the West, teams are coming in focused and want to beat them.
Jazz got the win, took the loss rather tonight in Dallas against the Mavericks. No Lauri Markkanen for them. We'll see if he's available on Saturday night. One of my favorite players too, Walter Clayton Jr. He's going to be coming to town on Monday. But tonight's affair going the way of the Spurs. 126-123. 39 from Victor Wembanyama, overcoming a career-high 55 from Anthony Edwards. But it's back in the win column. San Antonio going to try to stay perfect on their homestand. We'll see you on Monday. You've been watching Spurs basketball.